Let's listen to this exchange.
President Biden's strong support for Israel in its war with Hamas has many Muslims and Arab Americans furious with him. While the president has pressured the Israeli government to rein in its military campaign, it has left thousands in Gaza dead, and he has not called for a ceasefire because President Biden says that would only benefit the terror group Hamas. Joining me now is the mayor of Dearborn, Michigan, Abdullah Hammoud. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I want to talk about the politics of all of this in your very important state, and even more specifically, your very important city of Dearborn. The Congresswoman from Michigan, Rashida Tlaib, did meet with President Biden's campaign manager on Friday. You declined to meet with her. Why?
I don't think that this is a moment for electoral politics. I think over the course of now 115 days, Israel has murdered more than 26,000 Gazans and displaced over 2 million. And so for us, this is an issue that demands action and not lip service. And this is an issue that requires policymakers to come talk about taking a different course of action. And that's not a conversation you have with campaign staff.
Have you talked to anybody on a policy level? Would you like to hear from the Biden White House?
I think if you're going to send a delegation to Dearborn to meet with a collective group of Arab Americans and Muslim American leaders, that should most certainly be a senior policy making team. But for us, it's just dehumanizing when you send campaign staff. It sends the message that this is purely one of political of means. And for us, Palestinian lives are not measured in poll numbers. And so we have to have a serious dialogue about moving forward.
So I should have set this up like this too. These cable news anchors that do these interviews and these are sort of if you're a lawyer, permission to label the witness a hostile witness. That's what this is. This is a guy. From her point of view, she represents the establishment who's trying to paint Trump as the next Hitler and elect Joe Biden. So to her and the people she represents, this guy on the right is a problem. And he is the problem. Young and brown or black. And you are not supporting the people you should be supporting. So understand that's her perspective. From her perspective, this is not a friendly person. And it's going to start to show. She, in the beginning, asked a couple of cool questions, and then you'll see how it begins to change. That she's still trying to keep her demeanor quiet and civil, but clearly she is advocating for a particular position, and clearly she's trying to push back on something that is not her job to do. Because you don't push back on other stuff that you would claim as lies, and you're going to see what I mean when they get to that part. But let's listen.
How can President Biden earn the trust of the Muslim American community?
Now, let me rewind it. Because now he says a lot of good stuff. Let's listen to him again.
Important state, and even more specifically, your very important city of Dearborn. The Congresswoman from Michigan, Rashida Tlaib, did meet with President Biden's campaign manager on Friday. You declined to meet with her. Why?
I don't think that this is a moment for electoral politics. I think over the course of now 115 days, Israel has murdered more than 26,000 Gazans and displaced over 2 million. And so for us, this is an issue that demands action and not lip service. And this is an issue that requires policymakers to come talk about taking a different course of action. And that's not a conversation you have with campaign staff.
Now, that's a fantastic answer. That's a fantastic answer. So if you were in negotiations about a salary, about anything, I'm using this because it's easy to understand. So if you're in a negotiation with this new job about a salary, and they say, okay, we're going to send this is our offer. Now this is our final, but we can negotiate. We'll negotiate. And then they send their head janitor as the negotiator, how seriously would you take them? How seriously do you think they're taking you if they send the head janitor to negotiate your salary? So how serious is this Muslim Arab population supposed to take the Biden campaign when they send a campaign manager to talk to them? Why would they do that? Because you only care about Palestinians dying when it's only concerning something with your campaign? So I love this answer and I love this reaction from this community. Wait. You're sending some campaign managers? Try not. How about your chief of staff? You send him over here. That's what you could do. You know what I'm saying? Like, send some serious people, not these people, because it's just an indication that you are not taking me seriously. You're just trying to pander to me.
More than 26,000 Gazans and displaced over 2 million. And so for us, this is an issue that demands action and not lip service. And this is an issue that requires policymakers to come talk about taking a different course of action. And that's not a conversation you have with campaign staff.
Have you talked to anybody on a policy level? Would you like to hear from the Biden White House?
I think if you're going to send a delegation to Dearborn to meet with a collective group of Arab Americans and Muslim American leaders, that should most certainly be a senior policy making team. But for us, it's just dehumanizing when you send campaign staff. It sends the message that this is purely one of political of means. And for us, Palestinian lives are not measured in poll numbers. And so we have to have a serious dialogue about moving forward.
How can
So all of these first questions feel very mechanical. Like, I'm just reading until I get to where the part that I know my real job. These are just introductory sort of questions, you know, like small talk sort of questions before I get to the real thing. That's absolutely what it feels like. And let's see if that's what it ends up being.
President Biden earn the trust of the Muslim American community at this point?
You know, it's committing to the promises that he ran on in 2020 about bringing decency back to the White House. It's recognized us as the human beings that we are. It's understanding that we here in Dearborn, the broader Arab American community, the Muslim American community, we know what it's like to live overseas, under siege, under apartheid, under occupation. So come to Dearborn, come to this community. Let's put the pen in both of our hands and let's co-govern and co-write what the policies should be moving forward to help move our country forward in the right direction.
Yeah.
I must say, this guy is good. He has given straight 3 back-to-back fantastic answers to her question. So I'm curious, like, in another 5 years, where would this guy be in the movement?
Yeah, and as you know, there are a lot of people who don't agree with the notion that there's apartheid or occupation. That's another.
You see here, it completely unneeded for you to insert this. Completely unneeded, unless you're in fear from the Zionist money bags known as AIPAC. Why are you inserting this part in here? You have a guess. You had him answer the question. He answered it. You don't need to insert this here. Let's see what else she does.
Another conversation, but you know, the question.
I would just push back in that and say that international law recognizes the occupation. United Nations resolutions recognize the occupation and the fact.
You see, he's too good. Because she said her little AIPAC paid line to insert anytime they say stuff like oppression. They've been paid by AIPAC to make sure they say many people disagree with that. But then most guests don't push back when she says that, but he does. He said, no. This is factual evidence. Here's these international organizations have already labeled them this. This is what pisses her off. Let's see how the interview continues.
What's unfolding is apartheid. Every apartheid expert across the globe recognizes this crisis for what it is. Having somebody's political idea for what's unfolding versus reality is what the problem is here.
Okay.
Did you hear that? You saying this is not apartheid is a political thing. Living in reality, this is apartheid. You are not calling this apartheid for political reasons, and that's the point he's making. This guy is freaking fantastic.
And there are a lot of people who disagree with some of those conclusions, and the notion of occupation is, again, we're not having this debate right now, but I will just say,
why are you saying anything then? If you're not having a debate, Dana, why are you saying anything about it? Let your guest make his point, then you move on to the next question.
That there are a lot of people who say you can't occupy a land that you came from initially. And that's why that label, and also the question of so-called apartheid, is very much hotly debated, which we can have another time, but I really want to get to you, because this is inside politics, about how things are going to play out in the state of Michigan, Mr. Mayor, because, you know, at this point, it looks like President Biden.
This is why he's here. This question right here, that's what she's about to say. So understand, to get him on, I'm going to let you say all this stuff you said in the beginning. Those are just questions I have, very, very questions I don't care anything about. This is her speaking. I don't care anything about these first three questions I asked you, and the questions I brought you on here to force you, what I believe in my mind, force you in this corner of a rock and a hard place question. She believed this is a rock and a hard place when she presents Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. Let's listen to his answer, though.
Biden is going to be opposing Donald Trump in the election. And I want you to listen to what some of the former president has said about how he feels about the situation in the Middle East, and more specifically, how Muslims and Muslim Americans should be treated.
We aren't bringing in anyone from Gaza, Syria, Somalia, Yemen, or Libya. We will cut off every penny of money that we send to the Palestinians. If you empathize with radical Islamic terrorists and extremists, you're disqualified. You're just disqualified. If you want to abolish the state of Israel, you're disqualified. We will revoke the student visas of radical anti-American and anti-Semitic foreigners at our colleges and universities.
So, Mr. Mayor, if your constituents...
Now, this is the part where Rome talks about, this is a threat. If you don't get in line and do what we say, we're threatening you with our vicious big brother. We're threatening you with our delusional crazy cousin. We're threatening you with our deranged uncle. It's a threat. And understand that people, all of us here watching who are in these spaces, we can spot this nonsense from a mile away. We have the ability to understand that Donald Trump says worse stuff than the Democrats. The Democrats execute, tangibly implement worse shit than the Republicans. That's the whole dance that they have. Republicans are here to scare you with rhetoric, so that you go ahead and do the things that the Democrats are going ahead and sneak you by. Welfare reform. Where did that come from? That came from the Democratic Party. 3 strikes law, crime bill, that came from the Democratic Party. But they was telling us the Republicans was the ones that was going to do all of this stuff the whole time. It's them. I mean, just look what they're doing now. They're talking about a Muslim ban. You're playing a video about a Muslim ban. At the same time, the Biden administration is mad that the Republicans are walking away from an immigration deal that will severely change immigration on the border. But you want to show me a video from Trump. You see, Trump says more things, the Democrats execute more effectively. So let's continue with the interview. That's what they're trying to set him up with. Look at Trump bad. Now, what are you going to do? The guy has a great answer. This guy, I would love to see him on something else.
But if you want to abolish the state of Israel, you're disqualified. We will revoke the student visas of radical anti-American and anti-Semitic foreigners at our colleges and universities.
So, Mr. Mayor, if your constituents are upset with President Biden, and just to play this out, they don't vote for President Biden, and they either vote for Donald Trump or don't vote and could potentially tip the scales when it comes to the numbers to Donald Trump in your very important state of Michigan, how would that be better for your constituents than?
Let me answer it before he does. How would it be better? That's an incorrect answer. I mean, that's an incorrect question. Because it's not a matter of better. They would be the same. That's the problem. They would be the same. Not one better than the other. They would be the same. You don't get anything. So why am I voting for him if it's the same result? It's not a worse result. It's the same result. This is our argument against the lesser of two evil. Don't let them tell you what makes the two lesser of two evil. Oh, it's a lesser of two evil because the NLRB. Nigga, I didn't ask you for no NLRB shit. Is he lesser of two evil on healthcare? Who's lesser of two evil on defunding the military industrial complex? Who's lesser of two evil on providing single patient healthcare? They're the same on all of those shit that matters to you. Who's the lesser of two evil on $15 minimum wage? They're the same. You're effectively getting none of those things that I just mentioned from nobody. Let's continue.
Than President Biden.
For us, we have survived the Trump presidency 4 years ago, and
Ooh,
I'm not blind to what's being said by Donald Trump and other Republican presidential candidates. However, Democrats nationally need to reckon with the question of what does it mean for them to potentially lose thousands of voters on the response to this human rights issue, and what are they going to do about it? The question you posed me is actually a question that should be posed back to the president. What will he do to regain the trust and respect of the Arab American and broader Muslim American community? And the position that we're taking.
Now, I'm a person, I analyze people's mannerisms as they talk, and I'm a person who believes in you read people best that way, and I lean heavily into that ever since I've been a kid, and I'm always going to lean into that. And Tails, she is astonished how good this guy is. And when during the answer, you can see her face go, fuck, like your mind does a glitch, so you blink and you have like you twitch. It's very quick. You got to see it, but that's your brain sort of hearing something that resonate, and you physically have to snap yourself out of going down the pathway of truth or going down. It's a awakening that you try to snap yourself out of. And let's watch now. I pick it up. I'm gonna play it again. You tell me if you see
anti-Semitic foreigners at our college.
You tell me if you see the flinching as he's giving his answer to her question and how good it is, she's amazed.
Vote for President Biden. And they either vote for Donald Trump or don't vote and could potentially tip the scales when it comes to the numbers to Donald Trump in your very important state of Michigan. How would that be better for your constituents than?
And what I'm doing is I'm comparing her face or mannerisms before she's talking. She's not doing any blinking and clenching and none of that. I mean, not she's blinking. She's not doing any of these twitching that you're going to see she does when he's answering the question.
And President Biden.
For us, we have survived the Trump presidency 4 years ago, and I'm not blind to what's being said by Donald Trump and other Republican presidential candidates. However, Democrats nationally need to reckon with the question of what does it mean for them to potentially lose thousands of voters on the response to this human rights issue, and what are they going to do about it?
Right there.
The question you posed me is actually a question that should be posed back to the president. What will he do to regain the trust and respect of the Arab American and broader Muslim American community?
The licking of the lips.
We're taking, one in which we're demanding.
He's realizing this is a fucking
is
great
actually the position of the majority of Americans.
Answer that this guy is providing. She goes. She's realizing, God damn it. You guys scheduled a good one here. That's what she's realizing right here as he's speaking. I'm going to rewind it again. We're going to hear a lot of the same thing, but this type of thing is very interesting to me. You might be thinking, this is nothing. It's very interesting to me.
The question you posed me is actually a question that should be posed back to the president. What will he do to regain the trust and respect of the Arab American and broader Muslim American community? And the position that we're taking, one in which we're demanding a call for a ceasefire, is actually the position of the majority of Americans. Over 60% of Americans support a ceasefire. Over 80% of Democrats support a ceasefire. So this is not out of line and out of touch of the general American people.
Do you want Hamas to release all of the hostages that they have if you want this?
You see where she goes now? You see this shit? So he comes on here for you to sort of make the case on why, even with him supporting genocide, your own community should support Joe Biden. And when she's not able to convince him of that, now she goes on the attack. What do you want to do with the hostages? What? What does that have to do with what we're talking about right now? It's, we can't convince you? Let us smear you then. Let's see where she takes this here.
Want the ceasefire?
Absolutely, and I would love for Israel to release the thousands of hostages that they also have. All hostages should be released unconditionally.
Okay, because I hear a lot about a ceasefire, but not about the innocents who are.
You see, she's mad. I hear a lot about a ceasefire, but not about. Who gives a fuck what you hear? Like you're in the spaces of Palestinians and what you're going to hear what they have to say. Why? You see how she inserts herself to protect the establishment? She's mad. She wasn't able to get this guy because she had a gotcha question. Look at Trump. Look at all the boogeyman Trump. And he said some terrible shit. And she thought she was going to be able to come to him and he'd be like, I'm afraid. Okay, we're going to. And he was like, no, we've lived through Trump. Get the fuck out of here. We've lived through that guy. And they've lived through Netanyahu, motherfucker. They lived through that. Fucking Dana Bash.
Who are also being held inside Gaza.
We have a very strong value statement. I do not believe that any innocent man, woman, or child should be killed, and that there's no qualifier to the statement. Anybody not calling for a ceasefire.
You hear what he just said? There's no qualifier to the statement. Like you guys do. There's no qualifier.
is instituting a qualifier, that there is a justification at any point in time for the killing of any innocent man, woman, or child. So I call for the release of all hostages on both sides immediately and unconditionally, and also for the ceasing of the killing, the cessation of all killing, a ceasefire of any innocent man, woman, or child.
Okay, I'd love to have more of a policy discussion with you.
No, you would
after.
not. Shut the fuck up. No, you would not. And why would he need to have a policy discussion with you, reporter? That's not your job.